welcome to Virginia. Is this your first
thank you.
time here?
It feels that way every time I'm here. I'm sorry you took out that part about not being able to hug. We all need hugs.
I know, I know. Well, if you want to take them,
No, no, no. That's
okay, all right. You know, it's my job to sort of put it. Out
okay.
there. I'm the Secret Service agent sometimes. You know,
Good,
I
good.
jump all that stuff.
We need you, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, what I'd love to do is whenever I have a solo guest yourself, I kind of like to go into the origin story. And yes, you are a Virginia native.
Yes.
And you're still very active in all kinds of things here in production, stuff like that. But basically, you kind of had a regular job, you know, and then you sort of fell into this with a chance meeting with Tom Dressen.
Yes.
And how did that come about?
Accident. You know, I believe in the universe and what do you call it, God or whatever, that power that seems to be helping us all along, those vibrations that move us in certain directions that you normally wouldn't go in. One of my favorite quotes, by the way, is by the late iconic legend Yogi Bear. And Yogi Bear, one of the quotes I love the most, he says, "When you come to a fork in the road, take it." And that's been my life. I started out after graduating from college down at Norfolk State University. I was offered a job at EI DuPont and marketing and management, and took the job, and they tried to figure out where to send me. You know, this was back during the late 60s, early 70s, and there weren't many places that I could go and not get into some trouble, what was going on in the nation at that time. And so they said, where can we send this guy? So let's send him to one of our plants or one of our locations down in North Carolina. No, don't send him down there. Who knows what would happen to him? And then they said, send him to Detroit. No, we can't send him to Detroit. And so somebody said,
But he'll live better through chemistry.
yeah, but I was in
DuPont joke.
Photo products department was a group I was with. But they said, well, let's send him to California. And some said, no, you send him to California and he'll go into show business. And so they sent me to Chicago, where I went into show business. So that's kind of how that happened. Wasn't planned. And one day, I was at a presentation, and someone's with another gentleman, Tom Dreesen, and he was an insurance man, doing very well. And I'm working for this company, and we were talking. And because of our past sort of street life that both of us lived in our various communities, people said, you guys are funny, you ought to be a comedy team. And one day, after a few beers at a bar, I said, you thinking what I'm thinking? He said, yeah, you want to try it? I said, yeah, let's try it. And a few months later, we became a stand-up comedy team, the first black comedy team in American history and the longest. So we were together for about 5-6 years. The rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah. You guys were active in a very, very interesting point in stand-up history. That was the change. That was the changeover. It was the tuxedo guys were still around,
Yes.
but they're playing the older crowd, and you know, the Carlins kind of busted open the door, and then at that time there was a flood. You were in this
Yes.
wonderful class
Yeah.
of experimental guys just breaking the grounds, and just what a scene.
It was interesting. It was quite an experience. You never know what was going to happen because we were black and white, and our comedy covered our careers and our lives. We always had to be careful, and but we weren't, and so things would happen that we could not see coming. We were attacked on stage, run out of town. I was poisoned, and I mean, it just the wildest things that you could imagine. And we used to work ethnically in various places that normally no one of a certain hue would go into. For instance, you wouldn't find white people playing Club Harlem in Atlantic City, or you wouldn't find black people playing at a polka convention in Chicago. Well, we played them both, and the experiences were always unique. And it was fun. We did it for about 6 years. We were on a television show. We did the old, who was it, David Frost. We did David Frost. We did a few others. We worked the Playboy circuit. It was also the ebb of the Playboy circuit. Yeah. There were no places for comics to work. I mean, we'd work a phone booth if somebody turned on a light. So when the Playboy circuit began to happen, we started traveling America to these various Playboy clubs, New Orleans, Cincinnati, all these places. It gave us a chance to work our act and try different things. But it was there's a book out, by the way, called Tim and Tom Comedy in Black and White. You should really, it's, you wouldn't believe some of the things that we dealt with.
Absolutely. Ran the course with that, and it got you into it. One of the other projects you did that I'm a huge fan of, you worked with Richard Pryor on a sketch series
Yes.
bearing
yes,
his name
yes.
with another fantastic group of actors. And that series has absolutely I think one of the greatest sketches of all time, the gun shop sketch.
Yes, we.
Which is not necessarily funny, but I think it's
Yeah.
I think it's an acting tour de force, and I just think look up Richard Pryor said, look up gun shop sketch.
Yeah. Also, when first Black President,
Yes.
we did a sketch with that way back in the day. Yeah, that was an incredible experience. Robin Williams, myself, John Witherspoon. I mean, it was just so many of us, and we were all working the comedy stores at that time. And one of the people who wrote for Richard came up to us and said, "We want to put together a little ensemble cast, and we don't know what we're going to do. Do you guys want to be a part?" And so we'll pay you. So we went over and we started doing these sketches, incredible sketches. Now they can see them on YouTube, but what a wonderful way for someone to get their careers going. This was in '76, believe it or not. And I guess that was one of the reasons that after that I began to work more often and came up with this other radio show that you were talking about.
Yeah, that Ohio radio show that didn't last as long as we would have liked it to.
No, it didn't. There were some issues with the writers and the network. They didn't like each other because we were always doing shows that the network said, "Don't do that show. That's too political." Well, we did it anyway. And you keep doing that, pretty soon it said, "Go home. You're not doing it here anymore." And that's what happened. Matter of fact, when we were canceled, we were in the top 10 in the nation. Yeah, literally. It was a show that they decided to sacrifice because we wouldn't listen. And my partner and writer of that show was from the South, and he had a way about it that he's no longer with us, but he had a way about it that his writing was exceptional.
Oh no, and I love the fact that your character in that series were introduced, and it's a very stereotypical image when you think about it too. But very quickly, we learned that character had a tremendous backstory.
That was because of the relationship with Hugh and myself, both being from the South. He was from Florida and Georgia, and I was, of course, from here. And we decided early on, I didn't like the character name, by the way. I thought, I don't want to be 67 years old, somebody go, "Hey, Venus." And here I am. But I said, we knew jocks in the South, down in Norfolk places, and I knew that what you see when you run into a jock doesn't match anywhere in your consciousness what you thought it looked like, no matter who. You know, this is the jock, the guy that's all that smooth talking, little guy, maybe weighed 100 pounds. So I said, can the character be multidimensional? Can it have two sides? And so the writers started working to that. And I began, and they also allowed us to pick our own music. Ooh. All the record companies would send us records. I still have stacks of vinyl, now valuable, believe it or not. But they would send us these, every week we get a box from all the record companies of these, "Please play this." And that gave us an opportunity. People don't know, but that show won 3 gold records. We broke Blondie's Heart of Glass. We broke After the Love Was Gone from Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I broke Bob Marley in America. Nobody was playing Bob Marley. Yeah. And I had a poster of Bob Marley, and I started playing Bob Marley's music. So the show had a certain, I don't know, thing that helped break about the time that FM radio was taking over from AM. Yeah. So a lot of people would use what we were showing on the show to sort of slide in FM music that nobody at that time, radio stations, would not allow you to play some of the songs that we picked because it was not done on FM at that time. So all those things happen. You never know where these shows are going to go.
No, absolutely. And I'll just say that I've always said that there are lots of great shows, but I think that radio show, I think it's the most perfectly cast show. I think it absolutely is. I just think everybody just was so perfect for that part, and they embraced it, and everybody took their own choices within it. And again, Hugh and the team he developed let you guys seem to have the latitude to really go.
Yeah, we were integrally involved in that show, unlike any time since in my television career. We would actually watch what we call dailies. We would shoot, and then for a week, and then Monday before they start editing, we'd all meet in the office early in the morning. Our call may have been 9 or 10 o'clock. We'd get there 7, 8, sit in the offices and watch last week's show and make statements. Oh, I use that one where you can't do that now, you'll be shot. But we were able to do that, and I think we developed that old time of ensemble cast. It's gone now. But the relationships that you saw on screen were exactly what we were living in real life. We would hang out at each other's houses, the kids, kids being born, and all the kids grew up, and my family and everyone, we kind of hung out together, and it showed, I think, in the ensemble nature. We also were all radicals before we got, we were a cast that was put together like, okay, throw that one in there. We don't know what we're going to do with that one. And Howard Hessman would be there, and Lonnie Anderson, who
Well, Hessman he'd always been offered like TV work and
Turn 'em all
everything
down.
else. Yeah, because he was improv. That's all he wanted to be on the. He didn't want to be on stage. He wanted to be on the street, doing it for change.
he was Johnny Fever. He was. And Lonnie, she normally she would always get calls to play, quote, in those days, the dumb blonde sort of, whoa, with a high-pitched voice. And she was like, I don't want to play that. I'm sophisticated. I want to play a sophisticated woman. And was not seen in television at that time. And so all those things came together, and the writer and his team were able to take those things. My background character was a guy who was sort of introverted, didn't want to do it. He was a teacher. He was in the military. And that would come out in various episodes. Our taste for music, our personal lives. I was into Eastern religion at that time, and the gong and the candles and all that stuff was part of what I was going through. I was trying to figure out astral projection, and I figured it out. I went somewhere and came back. It's no better there.
Well, I was never I'm never good. Hard sciences were never my forte. But thanks to your character, I learned the basics of the atom.
Yes.
And I bet I'm not the only one.
No, myself included. Yeah, that episode, people will come up to me, teachers, a couple of people who are science teachers, who that episode turned their interest into science, and they went into school and got degrees. It was I don't know if you are old enough to remember, there was a magazine that went to high schools around America called Scholastic Magazine. Well, they put the entire episode in the Scholastic Magazine. Our picked frame after frame.
Fumetti?
Yeah. They drew it and all of that. We were on the cover of Mad Magazine. I mean, people really loved the show. Of course, the network didn't, because we were doing things they didn't want out.
No, but again, we didn't get as long as we wanted to, but I'm glad we got what we got.
I am too. It changed my life. It brought me into the homes of America. One of my favorite, these kinds of things that we do. I was doing one not too long ago in, Omaha. I don't know why I was there, but I was there. And I was signing an autograph, and a young man and his kid, he said, my kid loves you on that other show with the twins. Yeah. And so I'm signing it, and he said, wow, this is something. I said, what do you mean? I thought he was talking about, hey, you're a star. No, he wasn't thinking about that. He said, when my father was alive, he said, my father brought me up to you at my son's age to get an autograph for that TV show about the record company, radio station. And I went, wow. those kinds of things, we never know what we're doing on TV ever permeates and gets out to the audiences. But to be in a career where I have spanned a few generations gives me pleasure. That's why I love what I do.
Absolutely. And again, I wish we had more time. We could talk about the detective show and the twins show. Since we are a horror convention, I guess we should probably talk about the Naughty Clown miniseries.
Yes.
And again, another really superb cast.
It was, and it was just.
And I don't mean just the clown.
Yeah. Well, like you all now, I stay away from clowns. That show killed the clowns coming to your kid's birthday party business. One show, nobody. All of a sudden, it was gone. Somewhere in the closets, in the attics of people, there were a clown outfit going. I used to make money doing this.
It was a gig, and then
no more.
Yeah, that miniseries.
Who would invite Pennywise to their house for their kids? And what's funny, we were together for about 2 months. We were up in Canada, Vancouver, I think is where we were. And so it gave us a chance for all of us to come together and hang out. So we became sort of those kids as adults. And it really worked for us because all of us hung out together. And it was, I think that showed on screen where there was a generally understood relationship between all of them. And I really liked the character that I played because he brought everyone together. He was the
narrator.
The narrator. And it was a great experience. And when they were trying to decide what the clown was to look like, I think it happened about a week or 2 weeks after we had gotten there, rehearsals and all that stuff. And so he said, the director, Wallace at the time, he said, I want you guys to sit here and hang out, have lunch, and I'm going to bring out the clown in various stages, and you tell me which one you think is the most frightening. So they put him through all kinds of prosthetics, and I mean, it's like the old days with hair and stuff. They brought him and went, nah, that looks like overmade. That doesn't work, doesn't scare me, it just looks silly. So he took him back another hour or two and stripped him off and brought him back with some other stuff and faked this. And I went, nah. So now everybody's like frustrated. So they sent it back, and the director sat and talked with the actor, and he says, just take everything off, give him a little red nose and some teeth, and put that thing that all clowns have, that little hairpiece. He came out, and it was like, whoa. The actor were more frightening than anything they could create. And they said, that's the one. And it's still one of the most frightening kind of, it changed the attitude of clowns for and against.
Absolutely. Again, and you've been extremely active since then. I would like to talk about your external work. You've been very involved with production, and we were talking earlier about your streaming company. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah. During COVID, like all of us, we were trying to figure out what to do in the room with the same person that you were with for months. I didn't know my wife. I thought I knew her. But I was like, who is this woman with me? Does she make that sound all the time? Oh, my God. Does she chew like that? I mean, I've never spent 24 hours. I don't care how much you love someone, whether brother, mother, I don't care who it is. Imagine 24/7, 24 hours a day, same person. That's too much. In the old days, a man would get up 6, 7 in the morning. He'd go to work, whatever work he was doing, usually playing whatever. He'd come home maybe 7, 6:37. Dinner would be prepared. He'd spend maybe an hour with the family eating, and then he had to go to bed. 9 or 10, watch a little television, and then he's in bed. Wakes up, that goes on. Imagine all of a sudden that stops. You can't leave the house. You can't go anywhere. So I had to figure out what to do, either get a divorce, be killed, or get out of the house. So I decided my studio wasn't too far from where I was living. So I said, I'll just go hang out there. Nobody can come in. So we forbid anybody coming in the studio other than myself and my partner. And we were tested and all that. And so what are we going to do with all this content? I said, this thing called streaming started happening. Netflix, everybody was forced to rethink the business. And I said, let's do a streaming. We got all this content. So we started doing a streaming service in America. And it went well for a little bit. Then I found out everything was changing, as our business does so quickly now. And so we tried another one. And then finally I said, there are crooks in everything we do. I don't want to deal with these crooks. Everybody doesn't care and is changing the business. That's why people are on strike now. So I said, let me go out of the country. Let me go to the Caribbean. I always liked the Caribbean. And I started a streaming service there, just in the Caribbean. It's not even seen in the mainland. And it's been fun. And I'm learning a little bit more about culture in the Caribbean and the connection to Africa and all that. And now you can't, if my partner Tom and I were doing a comedy team now, we'd be arrested. People would stone us on stage. So the world has changed. We're politically correct. You can't say anything. I don't know what alphabet to use on a person now. Are you LB or BG? I don't know. I'm by this, not that. I'm woke. I'm sleep. I don't know. How do we communicate now? I'm not saying pro. I'm an independent. I'm not been affiliated with a pro.
I used to, go this way too, be like, oh, hello, sir, hello, young lady, hello, and now I just call it, hello, citizen.
Yeah, human.
That's like that's a term of that mine is respect and neutral to just about any way you would identify with.
Everything. I just read something about you can't say lady. It's like you can't. I'm like, what? That's why I say if an astral project can come back now, people worried about aliens, don't worry about them. They've been here. That's why they're not here now. I'm not going there. Make them come to us. So now must hurt them. They're trying to go to Mars. Please, all of you, go to Mars. Maybe we can get this place cleaned up.
So where can we watch all this stuff? What's the?
Right now, it's only in the Caribbean. We're going to.
Only on the Caribbean.
It's only in the Caribbean, through every island on the Caribbean. Panama, Dominica, everywhere, all the islands, Barbados. My company now is based.
What's it called? In case we find ourselves.
LGCY TV. It's Legacy of a People. LGCY TV, and the slogan is: it's not just a network; it's who we are. And our focus is on the culture of the African diaspora, which, by the way, doesn't mean all black. Believe it or not, white people are Africans. You go to Egypt and say that's a black person, you'll get stoned. But the culture of Africa has permeated the globe, and so I'm doing content for people no matter where they are, what their histories are, how it all culminates with that. It's not just we do sports, and it's really kind of interesting. And because nobody's paying attention now to me, I can do things like what I was doing with Tom. We're trying things, and we're kind of staying under the radar as much as we can.
Yeah.
But it's fun. At this point in my life and career, that I could do something that's new and kind of refreshing to me is great.
Well, I'm so glad. I wish you continued success in that enterprise, and I'm looking forward to the day that I could watch some of it on this side.
It's coming, first of the year.
Yes,
We're going to expand.
All right, great. Before I jump in and start taking our audience questions, on behalf of myself and our audience, I just do want to say this. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your talents. I want to thank you for your professionalism. I want to thank you for the performances and the contributions you've done in entertainment throughout your entire career.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Really does some
Appreciate
fantastic work.
Thank you.
So what I'll do now is let's go ahead and kind of do a line right here. Anybody wants to ask some questions, and whoever asks the first one will get 2 pieces of candy. So I'll bribe that way too. Anyone? All right, young lady, come on up. Okay. All right. So what do you want to know? And that's fine. Okay, go ahead. What's your name?
My name's Michelle. And I just wanted to tell you, well, actually, there's 2 things. I came here first.
Well, you're only allowed one. You have to go to the end of the line.
I can do that. But I wanted to tell you, I moved to Petersburg 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And there's been a lot of things that have changed in the last 5 years, some of which I have worked very hard at. I actually even ran for city council last year.
Okay.
But everybody talks about what you started when you were doing your production company in Petersburg.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Petersburg is hopefully on a new way of doing things. It's an interesting city culturally. I don't know if you remember the movie Lincoln that Spielberg shot. Petersburg was one of the few places in the entire United States where he could go and shoot a movie based in the 1800s and do a 360 with the camera. The buildings. I mean, you can't go anywhere now. You got to do CGI or something. But we talked about that, Spielberg. He shot at my studio some of the scenes. Petersburg is a unique place. It is culturally important to the history of America in many ways. In many ways. Yeah.
Tours. I do historical tours there, and my house was built in 1795.
Yeah.
It's right across the street from the Wallace House where Lincoln and Grant met.
Yes, yeah, I know that very well. You know, it was the last, matter of fact, Lincoln was in Petersburg the night before he was assassinated, meeting with some folks there. And it has very unique history, both black and white. It is, and it just, Pocahontas. I mean, you'd be surprised at the interesting history. At one time, it was considered to be the Las Vegas of America. It had horse racing. It had anything anybody wanted, vice-wise, you could get in Petersburg. It was well known, and one of the few places during the Civil War where commerce still carried on because all cotton, everything had to go through Petersburg to go north. It's a very unique city. The problem was a lot of people wanted to keep it that way. But luckily they are loosening their reign and the place is beginning to use that history and culture. I don't know if you ever heard of a woman by the name of Keckley, Elizabeth Keckley. Elizabeth Keckley and Petersburg and Dinwiddie, all that area, very unique. She was the first woman, what they call a modiste. She was the Chanel of America. Back in the day, if you went to a ball in Washington or wherever it was, state dinner, if you weren't wearing a Keckley, you know, it would show up in the New York Times. So-and-so dressed in a Keckley. And the whole cut of a woman's gown back then, where you begin to see a waistline, she created and trained other people. And she was a former slave. Her name is Elizabeth Keckley. Very unique woman. Bought her own freedom, trained people. She was a confidant of Mary Todd Lincoln. And Verona Davis, who was the wife of Jefferson Davis at the same time. It's when don't get me started on history, but when the Union Army overran Richmond, right around here, and they were coming up the hill to where the Capitol is, Jefferson Davis was in that little church right across the street, one of the oldest churches, doing a service. And when word got that the Union Army was surrounding the Capitol, they wanted to get him out because everybody was looking for him in the Union. You know, you want to be the one going, I caught Jefferson Davis. So he was in church with his wife, Verona, and they said, we got to get him out of here. So they went in a little room, and they dressed him. And most people don't want to say this, but Jefferson Davis escaped the Union Army dressed as a woman. And he was wearing a Keckley. They don't like that here, but I keep saying it. By the way, the cloak, when he wasn't a full dress, it was a cloak that she had made, is in a museum in Chicago. Yeah, but that's how he got out of Richmond.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And hey, and I hope you try again with your political career because anyone who wants to serve. There you go. All right. And let's go ahead. What's the name of your ghost tour your tour service?
Petersburg Haunts.
Okay. All right. Petersburg Haunts. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Kenny.
Okay. Kenny wants to know maybe a little bit, maybe another story about a time you worked on a project involving naughty clowns. What was really the craziest day you experienced with the naughty clowns, or the funniest?
Actually, they photographed one of the craziest days, and that was the day when we were at the Chinese restaurant, and we were purposely held back and not told what each one of these things were going to happen, how it was going to happen. We did that actually a couple times. Most of the stunts are stunts are things that happen. We didn't know until they yelled action what was going to happen. So most of the response that you see are actually based on what the, you know. So that was a weird part about it, but it was also one of the fun parts about it.
All right, there you go. Thank you. What's your name?
Tony.
Tony wants to know what was it like on the show with the twin girls?
You know, a couple things happened just recently. I think one of them had their, 50th? 40th or 50th birthday? I think it's 50th. And yeah, it is insane because when I met them, they were 13. Had just turned 13. And they changed my whole outlook. They're responsible for my feelings towards younger people, the millennial generation, as well as my granddaughter's generation, the Z generation. Because I didn't like young people prior to, we thought if we could exterminate them, we'd have a better world. But these two young ladies are two of the finest young people I've ever had the pleasure of spending any time with, and this includes my own kids. I mean, they are two of the most wonderful and loving people that I'd ever met, and they changed my whole attitude. As now, I'm trying to get baby boomers to be moved from the earth, and young people. I like young people now. I hang around with mostly Z generations and some of the millennials. You know, all the millennials became baby boomer-ish way before they were supposed to. But they changed my outlook about young people. I have more respect for young people than I ever thought I would have.
Cool, great one. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So, come on up. And what was your name?
Lauren.
Lauren wants to know if you ever got pranked on any set, maybe on the Twin Show, or maybe there was some other set that someone.
There was always something going on in just about every show we did, and we could also. We couldn't hold back our personal feelings or our attitude about things. I mentioned with not liking young people at the time. But Jack Hay was one of the most talented actors I've ever worked with, because she always played these broad characters, but she was one of the most professional. She studied, she took everything seriously. Me, on the other hand, I'm like on the phone in my dressing room talking about stuff that, you know, I was building a studio at the time I was doing that. And so she and I got into quite a bit of discussions with vulgar words. I think the first time the twins ever heard the F word was from us. The producers come out, please, Mr. Reid, would you just not say that in front of the girls? They're 14, 15, you know. But yeah, there were always pranks. You know, all the shows. There were Richard Pryor, all these shows that we were involved in, over a period of a few episodes, the personality of the person, there's what is the word? A crossing of personality. You become a little bit of your character, and the character becomes a little bit of you. And every show that I did, when it was over, it took me, in some cases, a year or months to shake off. If you notice under the shows on the radio show, I was a flamboyant dressing kind of character with all kinds of scarves. I remember the producer saying, I think Tim thinks he's doing a period piece, because I was always dressed as a pirate or something. And it took me, my wardrobe looked like a peacock threw up in it. And it took me I would say almost a year to get rid of some of Venus Flytrap's clothes. And the same thing when I was doing that cop show with the brothers. I decided, you know, because I was very thin when I did KRP, I don't think I weighed more than 150 pounds soaking wet. But when I did the other show, I'm supposed to be a police officer, so I had to bulk up. So I was in the gym every day, bulking up and working out with football players from the Rams, and we just all, and so all of my shirts, mostly my T-shirts, would cut off here. You know, what guys do when you start working out, you take off the sleeve. I don't know why. So my shirts were sleeveless. I'm walking around and always in this, and it took me a while. The Twins show, we were more formal. It was a businessman, and I still have some of the suits from that show that I can fit in. It happens. You just take on part of the character, and the character takes on part of your life.
Awesome. Great question. Thank you. Hey, what's your name?
Sarah,
And go ahead.
what's your favorite scary movie?
Scary movie. Actually, the clown show is certainly one of the most fun and unique things that I've done. And I didn't do a lot. I haven't done a lot of those kinds of movies. I directed a movie called Spirits Lost, and it was about a ghost. And but I'm in a movie that's coming out soon. Myself, Tony Todd, and Jeremy. We are in the, matter of fact, Jeremy is the one that kills me in the movie. When they asked me if I wanted to do it, at this point, I mean, there are no bad moves to make because nobody cares at my age, you know. I'm an actor, so I had never done anything that was gory. I mean, like Scream with the guy with the chainsaw. I had never done anything like it. I said, wouldn't it be fun to be in one of those movies? And so I told my son, who's much older now, but I told my son, I said, I think I'm gonna do a horror movie. He said, no, Dad. I said, why? He said, because you know they always kill the black folks the first scene. And they do. They're the first ones that die. So I called the guy. I said, I would do it, but my son, you know, don't want me. He said, no, you're throughout the movie. He says, matter of fact, you're one of the bad guys. And it so happened I was the last person to get killed in the movie. So I said, oh, I'm throughout? He said, yeah. I said, all right, I'll do it. It was an interesting choice. The movie is called Stream, and Tony's in it, so you know whatever he's in is going to be scary. And that's coming out shortly. I don't know. I just saw the trailer for it. If you go online and look at Stream, it's the guys who did Terror 1 and 2. I don't know if those guys, if you like horror movies, but he did Terror. I think they did Terror, but they do a lot of them. And that's my first time, and probably my last, to do, I mean, there's blood everywhere. They drilled through my head they had to do a head. They got a separate head they had to make of me. I was all that stuff on for hours, and they took it off, and they made this head.
Was it Terror or Terrifier?
Terrifier.
Terrifier. Oh, those guys.
Yeah, those guys.
Oh, yeah,
Blood.
yeah,
They
yeah.
love blood, you know.
Yeah, lots of blood.
Yeah, lots of blood. Instead of having breakfast, all of a sudden an axe would go through somebody's head. For no reason, just kill them with an axe. But it was a great experience. The people were fun, and the actors were great, and I did it. I don't know if I'll do a lot of them, but I did it.
What's anything else on the docket you can share with us?
I'm getting ready to direct a movie down in the Caribbean, just 'cause it's nice down there. It's called Trade Winds. And this is a movie sort of like Knives Out. It's like a Agatha Christie movie. Someone's killed, myself, in the first act, and then who did it? And it's a female-driven piece, and it's people, the kind of people we love to hate, privileged people who have yachts, and they just ride around going, "I'm privileged, get out of my way. I want a Starbucks." But it's fun. It's going to be a fun
Excuse me, there's a lime, and I wanted a lemon in my drink.
Yes, please. I said double shot espresso, pumpkin.
Tim, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's fun.
Absolutely what it was.
I'm glad you guys showed up because it's going to be just him and I if it didn't.
Nightmare 2020, this is Tim Reid. That was our time. But before we go, take a picture with you and the whole audience.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, what we like to do is take one of our spooky stage selfies. We want to ask everybody to come towards the stage, not on the stage, but towards the stage. Want to take a picture of our guest and all of you.